let's talk social media since we just brought up Facebook. Um, more of us in the cryptocurrency space are moving away from traditional social media platforms. We're going to more decentralized platforms like minds.com. We're going to like for streamers, there's D Live and different platforms like
Yeah,
that.
BitTube, DLive, Mastodon, right, right.
Right, exactly. So is it? I mean, the problem though that I have with our move to those platforms is that the people who we're trying to reach aren't going to, right? So we tend to be in an echo chamber, right, where we're talking to people of like mind, but we're not talking to the general public because they haven't discovered these other websites. They don't know that they have options. um, do you think that it's a matter of advertisement, of exposure? Why do you think we're having such a slow turn getting people off of these social media platforms?
Well, so social media is an incredible phenomenon. I'm obviously a huge fan of the idea behind social media. I'm an avid user. I was an early adopter of it as well. And I look at things a little bit differently for you than you do in this particular instance. All of these other social media platforms, I've been on mine since 2015, an early believer in the anti-Facebook. And but Minds is not ready to take on Facebook. Minds, from a development standpoint, I mean, forget the crypto piece of Minds because it's really irrelevant. You don't even need to participate in the crypto economy to to use Minds, right? It doesn't matter. But Minds, from a development standpoint, needs people like you and I, the early adopters, to go in and tell them what's wrong with their platform to use it. And I think it's okay, for 2, 4, maybe even 5, 7 years for platforms like Minds and Mastodon to go have these echo chambers of people who are early adopters and willing to try out something new and make the determination about whether this platform is in it for the long run and willing to, develop in a way that's going to solve the problems that current social media platforms do, or they're not. I regularly recommend Minds to people because I think the teams at Minds are very, very dedicated to their mission of not necessarily competing with Facebook, but providing a viable, friendly, comfortable, familiar alternative. Um, of all of the Twitter-like uh, media, social media competitors, I've tried both centralized and decentralized. I haven't found one yet that I think is dedicated to that mission. Mastodon is a great thing, but unless you're my age and understood IRC and BBS at the time, you won't understand connecting to a server for Mastodon. It's just not a familiar, comfortable, easy experience for people who log on to Twitter or Facebook. So I am actually okay with hundreds of decentralized social media projects trying to be the one and competing with each other and it being an echo chamber on all of them for a while. Now, when it comes to, like I said, I evangelize minds.com, but I don't preach minds.com. For me, minds, like anything else, word of mouth is the best way to grow the value of a brand. I have friends that have been following me on social media for a long time. I consider myself a reliable source of vetted information. I think they continue to follow me for that reason. And when I push anything out there, endorse anything, suggest anything, it's because I personally have vetted it. So that's why I think it's okay that there isn't a Facebook killer or a Twitter killer out there run by our community at this time. I'm kind of okay with this. Now ask me the same question in 2023.
well, after our next election, we'll see just how bad it's going to get. Well, and the going along the same lines of Facebook and Twitter. So with Facebook and I think the main complaint that a lot of people had or have about Facebook is the privacy issue that we all know about now.
Right.
But as far as reach, we like it's not, we're not ready to abandon Facebook because there's so many people still on Facebook. Like my mother's on Facebook,
Right. Mine as well.
right? If I tell her, okay, come over to mine's, she'll be like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. No, mine is exactly the same way.
And
Yeah.
but then why I brought up the election was because a lot of the view on these platforms that are emerging, they get run through the ringer of the media. And most of these platforms are basically free speech platforms, right? No one's gonna kick you off if you say something someone doesn't like.
Right.
But because of our politically charged society that we're currently in, if you don't kick people off for saying things that someone might find offensive, now we're going to label you as this kind of person or that kind of person.
Right.
So is it well, we already covered it, so we don't have to go back into it, but it's also a PR situation too.
Hugely. I would say primarily a PR situation for platforms like Facebook and Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
So, to your point, I left Facebook in 2018, at the end of 2018. So Cambridge Analytica was a bridge too far. I am a privacy advocate, have been for 2 decades. I knew, I also worked on the other end of Facebook promoting brands and doing social media for companies. So I knew just how much information I could get about people if I wanted to push my product or my brand or my idea onto them. I already knew this. Um, and it is a very difficult place to be in if you are a brand, whether you're a brand like you and I are, or you're, you know, Bitcoin, or your, Sears, or your Taco Bell. It is a difficult position to be in to ethically choose to not exploit the very consumers and people you were trying to reach, but also wanting to gain as wide of reach as possible. Social media brand evangelism is also a dog eat dog world. And it is a personal decision and a brand decision to employ tactics that make you better rather than juxtapose you against your competition. Um, it is so much easier to declare an enemy and talk about how bad they are than it is to convince people how good you are. And Facebook and Twitter are platforms that thrive on that juxtaposition of good versus evil type of conversation. They thrive on that. Mr. Nice Guy doesn't get the attention, and as a perfect example, I was on Twitter probably in 2009 as a brand, a political brand, trying to make myself a thought leader in a certain political space, and tried a few tactics here and there. I mean, Twitter was very tactical for me. And after about a year of being on there, I realized that my tactic was uncomfortable for me. Being confrontational was not what I wanted to be seen as, not the person I wanted to be, not the brand I wanted to invent for myself. But it is a lot harder to engage, especially today versus 2010 or 2009. It is a lot more difficult to engage people in rational, reasonable debate that ends in agreeing to disagree, or not blocking each other, or not trying to get each other thrown off a platform, uh, than it is to just create this outrageous, loud, obnoxious persona, and get, create this cult following around your persona. And that benefits Twitter and Facebook, despite all of their conversations about wanting to make the platform safer and more respectful. They don't, because that lowers the conversation roar on their platforms. It makes them less appealing. If I need to find a tribe, I want my tribe to be loud, and I want I want to blend in with this really loud vocal tribe that thinks they're making a difference.
Right.
If I'm on there trying to have conversations with people who disagree with me in a way that makes us not hate each other, well, I'm boring, and that's not good for social media.
Right. And I mean, well, that's one reason why we have well, when when Jack Dorsey and I forget her name, she went on they went on the Joe Rogan podcast with Tim
Yep.
Pool,
Yep.
and a part of it seemed like Jack was just clueless about what his platform actually does. And it brings me to my question about what happened to you and your um, original Twitter handle. So your original Twitter handle was Galt's Girl,
Correct. For
and
almost 10 years.
for almost 10 years, you had over 25,000 followers.
Over 50,000.
50,000, see?
Yeah.
Um, so with a presence that big, you would think that Twitter would be more reticent to help you. Well, let me give some background for the viewers. So what happened to Michelle's account was hijacked by nefarious actors, and she was locked out of it. So she wasn't able to get back into her handle, and she had an account, 50,000 followers, that should have drawn attention of Twitter and Twitter support to, we need to help this person get back online. She since had to create a new handle, Ragnar's Mate, and the few of us who knew her already, we were able to look her up by her name and find out what her new Twitter handle was, when we should have been able to just go back to her original Galt's Girl Twitter handle. So, Michelle, for what's been your experience with trying to get control back of your original handle? Because Jack had the same thing happen to him, and it got resolved in a few hours. What was your experience?
Right. So literally the exact same thing happened to me that happened to Jack. I was the victim of a SIM swap. The person who got a hold of my phone, had my phone number ported to their phone, changed my Twitter password. Once they did that, they changed the email and phone number associated with it, completely locking me out. But not only was I a prominent Twitter user, and I mean prominent, I had over 700,000 tweets on my account. And a polite Twitter user for the most part. I mean, I'm not a troll. I didn't engage trolls generally. I was verified. So while I was working in politics, Twitter actually verified my account. They had a copy of my photo ID. They had employment information. So, I was a blue check mark. I immediately knew what was happening the minute the hack happened. I mean, within 10 minutes, I actually briefly regained control of my account. But there is this interesting flaw in Twitter that if you have a open mobile session of Twitter, you can go into settings and end all other sessions. So the person still had their Twitter opened in my account on their phone. Even though I got control back, they ended all sessions, which cut me off. So within probably 15 minutes of the attack and knowing I wasn't going to get my account back, I emailed Twitter support. I filled out their, actually didn't email, I filled out their online support form. The next morning, I got an email back saying that they couldn't verify that I was the owner of the account. And that, I was like, okay, I'll respond to this email a little bit more and point out that this was a verified account. And in order to verify that I was the owner of the account, they just had to verify the information they already verified. Again, an automated response with, we're sorry, we can't help you. We know this is disappointing, but we can't verify that you're the owner of the account. Now, my emails to Twitter, my support tickets were coming from the email that was associated with the account for almost a decade. I was able to provide information. I attached a copy of my photo ID. And now here, this happened the end of April. Now this is late September. To date, I have filed more than 40 support tickets, gotten nearly 1,000 retweets of my requests for help. I have emailed more than 10 people at departments directly at Twitter, and I have had exactly 0 response from anyone at Twitter about getting my access to my account, which is, wouldn't be disturbing. It's not the 50,000 followers or anything like that. It's that because I work in marketing and media, that's my resume. That's my CV. And on top of that, there are private conversations I've had with businesses and people. There are pictures of my children that someone else, yes, I could go download them. That's not the issue. Someone else is now in control of those tweets and controls the image of me that is been out there for 10 years. They decide what tweets they want to show and which ones they don't. And Jack, for somebody who says that they want to make their platform more safe, more, I don't know, reliable for users and comfortable and a safe place to be, they've made zero effort to help a long time, relatively courteous, I'm not even all that controversial, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a libertarian, so I dish it on both sides, and I always have.
Well, apart, my opinion, and you don't have to chime in on this one if you don't want to, but my opinion is it's somewhat politically motivated, because
I can't disagree at this point. I can't think of another reason why they wouldn't help me at this point.
Right, exactly. I mean, like you said, you're libertarian and you dish it out on both sides. But for them to respond, well, in lack of response that they have shown, where other people with the same issue get much faster responses, much faster help. You don't have to, like, I've retweeted your support
requests, right? No, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And it just seems to me like that they shouldn't want this many tweets floating around that say you're not helping this person.
You're not even trying to help, right? No, I've witnessed the same thing. I watched Velveeta King get her account back. Jack, obviously, I think there was a football player not that long ago who suffered a SIM swap. I mean, listen, if you're vocal on Twitter about any particular topic that's either going to upset somebody or, especially in the crypto space, make you a financial target, you're at risk for being a target of a SIM swap attack. People took over my Twitter account not because I was politically, dangerous or opposition. I was a financial target because I talk about crypto. And what an idiot. I spent half my time talking about not keeping money on an exchange. And the first thing they did was try to hack my exchange account like there was going to be money there. I'm like, what a dumbass, but the fascinating thing for me is that Jack is now the victim of this. He realizes how easy it is for someone to be a target. And I would think Twitter, after that experience, would be all over helping its more vocal proponents and users who have been victims, being there for them. I mean, look, 50,000 followers is not 7 million, but I have been a vocal proponent of Twitter for influencing everything for years. Everything from early adoption of technology to criminal justice reform to getting involved locally politically to, being a kinder, gentler people to one another. How is any of that bad for Twitter for them to take 5 minutes and look at my photo ID and reset the access to this account? I literally cannot disagree with you that at this point it's got to be political. There's no other reason.
Well, more than likely you have some intern. Oh, golf. Oh,
yeah.
Can't have that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I read Atlas Shrugged and couldn't get through it. She's awful, right?
Everyone read Atlas Shrugged.
Read it if you hate it. Let's talk about it. Find me on Twitter. Let's have a debate about it like adults. I have a no meme zone unless they're used ironically. I have a no meme zone.
Yeah, well, like I said in my, I like to use memes because they convey emotion a lot better than a person might be able to on social media.
Yeah, no, they're very handy when you're trying to be sarcastic.
Right, exactly. And
yeah, but informationally, I actually just had a long conversation about memes as information. Like, it's so impossible, especially for people who grew up on social media, to be able to filter their bias and actually fact check a meme. They just don't. But if they have to respond to you with their big boy words or their big girl words, they have to formulate a basis around their argument and be able to defend it. And so for memes, I typically use them for people who I find to be incapable of formulating an argument.
Well, and also 240 characters is not exactly the medium you want to be using to form a complete argument.